There are but two truths about aging. One, that every year brings with it a new physical debuff, a perennial pain one year, a few degrees of motion lost the next. And two, with each year comes the inevitable deepening of one's appreciation for none other than the 1988 Studio Ghibli animated family-friendly fantasy classic, My Neighbor Totoro. Though time and experience may spoil the staples from your high school soundtrack, though technological advancement and the subsequent raising of the bar ruin classics from your childhood cartoon catalog, media like Totoro is immortal. My Neighbor Totoro is a children's film for adults. It is the North Star for grumpy, despondent grown-ups, a veritable guide to addressing our overwhelming saudade, and a map back to that childlike wonder you misplaced. Childlike wonder, definition: to be in perpetual awe at the magic of the world, to possess an insatiable hunger to learn more about it, to find beauty and joy in small everyday things that grown-ups find mundane. It means keeping your imagination sharp and letting it color your surroundings. But this boundless curiosity and the impassioned search it inspires rarely lasts, replaced by the all-consuming quest for financial stability and the rest of that good stuff. The average person will one day come home to find their vivid imagination and colorful life buried side by side in the backyard they probably don't have. Needless to say, our material conditions ensure that no media diet is complete without a solid helping of fiction, fantasy. People see My Neighbor Totoro and they see a chance to escape back in time, to childhoods viewed through rose-tinted glasses, when the lucky could enjoy long days packed with wonder and fun, unbothered by the concept of time, unburdened by the future, and unshackled from societal obligations. You go to sleep at night comforted by thoughts of an equally exciting tomorrow. And with those halcyon days came childlike wonder. But if that's all My Neighbor Totoro was, it'd be nothing more than another drop in a sea of media looking to provide you those easy escapes. My Neighbor Totoro is about the Japanese countryside. It's about a family adjusting to country life. It's about these two doe-eyed kids losing their minds over the minutia of their new surroundings. Eyes wide at the sight of a tiny bridge, hootin' and hollerin' over some trees, smiling ear to ear as their decrepit home rots away one beam at a time. Let's get a celebration going for that. They're introduced to their new neighbors, three of which not like the others. Totoro and Co. show up periodically over the course of the film to lend helping hands. My Neighbor Totoro, famously, is a story considered to have no villain, no children battling mean grown-ups, no coming-of-age shenanigans catalyzed by traumatizing loss, no saving the world and discovering the importance of family along the way. There are minor conflicts like May grappling with the eternal question, wow, I want to play, but there's nothing to do. Or this kid debating between hello and shitting his pants and running away. The central conflict of the film centers on their mother recovering at a hospital nearby, in no real danger, but the family wants her home with them. Towards the end of the film, a telegram sends the kids into a frenzy as thoughts of their mom potentially dying take over. May runs off to the hospital on her own, and a search party forms to track her down. But hey, spoiler alert, everything is fine, because Totoro is here to best the villain, your silly little mind. What is My Neighbor Totoro but a gentle 86-minute guided tour of the countryside? Well, how easy it is to be swept away by the presentation of My Neighbor Totoro, and make no mistake, it is worth your full attention. To city slickers, its foreign and folklore-infused forest spaces lend the film a mystical quality, but it's a different kind of magic that keeps us there. Most people point to nostalgia, but the chance that this film somehow extracts from your memory the exact details of your childhood and vomits it out on the screen is, if I'm allowed to guess, pretty slim. Just as the average Tokyo office worker reveres the Japanese Inaka experience they never had, We have such a powerful reaction to these pastoral vignettes. The symbiotic relationship between humans and nature on display channels a sort of purity and innocence that we long for every day, despite many of us growing up so far removed from any of this. Sure, I had a uniquely childlike lens through which I viewed the world, but against those balmy Ghibli days, my childhood was boring. When I threw the front door open, I wasn't greeted by the toothy grins of friends excited for a day's adventure. There was no loitering outside the local mom-and-pop convenience store with cold drinks in hand, nor any unchaperoned cartoon reenactments in the nearby woods. I don't know what kids do. And yet, I am so deeply moved, so profoundly affected by these beautiful moments on screen. We've all had glimpses of it, fleeting moments of this wonder and freedom, and we are forever chasing that high. It's the family's outlook on life, their everyday interactions, and the staff's deep, deep love and reverence for the minutiae of country life, the emotion they paint into every frame which wins you over. Totoro resonates with us because no one forgets that feeling, no matter how much of a grown-up you become. But My Neighbor Totoro goes one layer deeper than simply reminiscing. It's about reconnecting with the childlike wonder we left in the past and inviting it into the present. Totoro's domain is governed by a few laws. 1, if you fall asleep, the forest spirits vanish without a trace. Kind of. And 2, forest spirits are imperceptible to adults. Sort of. My Neighbor Totoro keeps this little game going with the audience. Are Totoro & Co. products of youthful imagination or real spirits affecting this rural space? Did May really find a Totoro, or is this nothing more than the daydreams of a bored toddler in a new environment? Did the spirits really help the sisters with their seeds, or did nature just do its thing while they dreamt? What was their dad looking at here? What about here? Did the cat bus really find May, or is the entire ending just a dream? The final creative effort of a lost child fading away in some ditch in the countryside? Was Rick really in a coma the entire show? Was Ash in a coma the whole show? Being an absolute killjoy about one of the most joyful animated films ever produced is a choice. Everyone knows someone. And often, it's hard to think of the good when everything else might be not so good. The film, however, convinces you to submit yourself to the vibes, to join its young protagonists in experiencing childlike wonder. So suspend your disbelief, not because that is the standard fare for film, but because everything is better when you keep the door open for the beautiful somethings most people miss. Totoro puts this forgotten muscle through a few gentle exercises in lateral thinking, lateral learning, free from the mental constraints and learned conventions that taint your interpretations of both reality and the stories it inspires. In the world of My Neighbor Totoro, magic is real, and the childlike wonder of Satsuki and Mei is the key to unlocking it. They aren't delusional, you're using the wrong lens. And look, is this countryside setting really as untainted, as clean of urbanization and corporate influences as it tries to appear? Probably not. But My Neighbor Totoro doesn't run from the ugliness of the world per se. It makes a hopeful plea to you, the audience, asking you to rebuild your bond with the world and grow closer to its beauty in spite of the issues we face. It screams it at you. Recall the infamous meme where exhausted hater Hayao Miyazaki proclaims, "Anime was a mistake." He didn't actually say this. Well, he kind of said it. He bemoans the fact that otaku with no lived experiences, no perspective, no interests outside of the anime they consume are destined to make creatively bankrupt work, recycling derivative ideas for the fellow members of their echo chamber. Every anime watchers press play on some ultra unoriginal isekai with weird, trad, misanthropic undercurrents. Fiction weaves together made-up stuff into something awesome and cool that ultimately conveys something about the real world, the human condition, whether intentional or not. Some works try to fight against the very idea that stories should convey anything, try to turn a blind eye to reality and coast on conventions. A lot of these stories, ironically, do convey something. They despise change, treat the status quo as absolute. No matter how fantastical they seem on the surface, underneath it's just the same old thing. My Neighbor Totoro knows that art isn't enjoyed in a vacuum. You get a sense that it wants to be more than a nostalgia-powered serotonin hit, more than media meant to appease audiences while another rug is pulled out from under them. Totoro isn't a representation of a time forever lost, a toddler-sized door that if missed is closed off to you forever. Because there's no age limit for childlike wonder, for adventure, for boundless creativity, no matter what anyone says. Only systems that decide you're too useful to return to that idyllic life, or to find it for the first time. Systems that compel you to sacrifice all time and pleasure to appease the god of the grind, that convince you your worth is proportional only to the hours you work. They say that in exchange for becoming an adult, you're forced to give up that wonder to properly navigate and satisfy a society ruled by those with more love for profit than people. Consuming media certainly isn't going to solve any systemic problems, but at the very least, Totoro renews your faith in a better world and encourages you to peek over the hedge. It's a remedy for the poison that has infected every single person, whether they're the audience or the artist. Life informs art. Lived experiences bleed into these works, and lived experiences bring these works to life. But oftentimes, the less magical aspects of life steal the reins, even when we try our best to avoid it. At its worst, it perpetuates harmful ideas and ignores harmful realities. At its mildest, it's hackneyed. Take my first love, video games. AAA games, especially, are not uncommonly the products of safe ideas and careful massaging by C-suite suits, seldom offering players anything other than kill guy, make number go up experiences. Why continue to celebrate exclusively hollow power fantasies that trap you in proverbial hamster wheels, chasing larger and larger numbers? Why is the default experience one in which players are drip-fed dopamine hits, one act of domination at a time, where you can ruin a million lives without consequence and still be told you're the hero at the end? Kind of depressing. Is any of it compelling though? Yeah. Who doesn't have the odd itch for virtual violence or appreciate the warm embrace of familiarity despite some possibly problematic elements? But is that all there can ever be? Hell no. Take notable cozy game Animal Crossing New Horizons. On the surface, nature, whimsicality, freedom, losing yourself in the minutiae of this simple, rugged lifestyle. Very Totoro. A fantasy island paradise to escape from the woes of pandemic life. Really, it's just a chance to thrive under a gentle blend of pastoralism and capitalism, where you can fulfill your fantasy of keeping your head above the water. I like this game a lot, and at the start of the pandemic, so did millions of others. 2020 exposed the failings in our systems, corporate greed, the lukewarm responses from governments worldwide. Many were forced to confront the reality that things were, indeed, not good. Animal Crossing New Horizons represented a retreat away from this tumultuous time. A place where I'm beholden to a quirked-up billionaire with unclear motives, where I have to exploit the stock market to get ahead, where I still need to perform tedious tasks and turn everything I do into a side hustle to finally get the stuff I want, where a mini Tom Nook sitting on my shoulder pesters me every day to log in. Think of the dailies you're missing. Think of the weeds that are growing. Think of all the villagers thinking about leaving. They don't leave in New Horizons, but you get the point. Escapism, check, but not the utopian destination I had in mind. Is this the limit of our imagination? What does the Dao by Mao ratio say about this? Animal Crossing satirizes these concepts while simultaneously throwing its hands up saying, look, this is all we can do. It's a cute, fun, innocuous game, obviously, but it's also a moment to reflect on all these different things we may have internalized. Of course, any work in games isn't real work. It's something you do of your own volition, and so it can be meditative, cathartic, and rewarding in ways unique to the individual. Still, the luster of Animal Crossing slowly fades as its methods of creating engagement and tongue-in-cheek progression, borrowed from stuff we loathe in real life, start taking up more space in the room. Come endgame, players just want to carve out a little space for themselves, decorate their island and their home, and share that experience with others. You realize the best parts of the game are being hampered by that other stuff that greased the wheels early on, but now kinda sucks. Enter Outer Wilds, the true Totoro of modern adventure games. The story of two alien races, 281,042 years apart, united by their insatiable curiosity and undying love for space exploration. It's a dense network of mysteries and opportunities spread all throughout a clockwork solar system, a blank slate just waiting for someone to color it with their own experiences and emotions. The game reminds you that this medium's experiences don't take place on the screen, they live in our minds, and that nurturing a curious mind is the key to an engaging, intimate narrative. The solar system comes to life only because you make the conscious effort to turn a few planets' worth of discoveries into something more. This is a game about the power of kinship, of knowledge, of learning for no other reason than to satisfy your curiosity and to deepen your connection with the universe. A game where adventuring doesn't mean colonizing, progress isn't tied to capital, and your interactions with the world don't involve killing in exchange for dopamine. Not because those things can't be fun in a video game context, but there has to be more. These are fictional spaces where you could literally dream up anything. Outer Wilds rejects the models that exploit our brain chemistry and the definitions we have for success, opting for self-guided discovery, learning for its own sake. A game that evokes your childlike wonder in spite of the circumstances. Both it and My Neighbor Totoro celebrate life and learning. They represent a break from the norm through the structure and stories of the works, as well as the themes and feelings explored. Totoro and Friends give us hope. They provide us not just with respite, but a lifelong mission. After all, over at Studio Ghibli, amidst a lot of crunching and sleepless nights, people found a way to stay kids, or at least reignite their childlike wonder and keep that fire burning long enough to send us a much-needed reminder of this thing that we thought we'd lost, and to reinvigorate the ones who never stopped searching.